committing millions of sins over decades. Right? I mean, think of the millions of sins that were committed by the people of Nineveh. And then they go and fast for 3 days. And God says, okay, never mind. That's it. Would you accept that? No, I wouldn't. Millions and millions of sins committed over years and years by thousands and thousands of people. All right. So this is what I need to feel. This wounded by love. This is how I have to feel. This is my thoughts. This is how I approach God. I don't do anything out of guilt. I don't serve God out of guilt. I don't serve the church out of guilt. I don't listen to my parents out of guilt. Nothing in the church is out of guilt. That's not how we approach it. It's out of love, a love that's being reciprocated from an initial outpouring by God. Now we're at starting over. Can you guys see an old man on the right of the screen? St. Joseph. So guys, we've all made mistakes. All of us. We all hate decisions that we've made. We all suck. That's okay. So this saint says, don't be sad, my child. Don't worry so much. Even though you have fallen again, get up again. You have been called to a heavenly road. It is not surprising for someone running to stumble. It just takes patience and repentance at every moment. And this is the calling that all of us have. And I hope as we embark on this retreat over the next few days, we just remember this. We've all made mistakes. We've all messed up. We all suck. That's okay. Right? And as this saint says, don't be sad. Don't worry. If you fall, call. Man is broken. That's us. God comes into our lives, and now we respond. What's amazing to me is that the limbless man had faith that Mendez would take him back. A broken person, that there is nothing my child could ever do, including kill me, that would make me not love them. There is nothing. Right? In fact, you guys, I don't know if you know this, but I hope you do, that if you were ever in a situation where your life was in danger, and some of you have probably been in that situation, how would your parents react? If there was a vicious animal coming towards you, what would your parent do? I can guarantee you, every one of your parents would step in front of that vicious animal, and they would not hesitate. They wouldn't even think twice. You'll have a fever, you'll be up all night, you'll be coughing, you'll be sick, and what does your mom say to you or your dad? I wish I was sick instead. So this is the love that a parent, a human, a broken human, has for their child. Can you only imagine what the limitless one feels? And so when someone says, God doesn't love me after what I've done, my reaction is, get over it. No, it's not. That's your ego. So this takes a leap of faith. And the one sin that will not be forgiven, Christ says, is when you say, God will not forgive me. Because I'll tell you what, my kid can say a lot of things to me, and I'll forgive him. But if he says, I didn't tell you because I didn't think you would love me or you didn't forgive me, that would piss me off. It's like, what? That's crazy. I had a friend. We grew up together. His dad was, you know him. His dad was very harsh, pushed him. And eventually, he said, he eventually took his life. I was 31, he was 30, and he just got a gun and shot himself in the head. And the reason he wrote on his note is that his dad, he didn't think he was good enough for his dad. And can you imagine, I don't think I can, the pain a parent has for the rest of their life, knowing that their son killed himself? Imagine what that does to the dad. I would be done. I would just say, check me into a mental institution and put me on suicide watch. So can you imagine the heart of God when you say, I'm not good enough for you? Is it even possible? Is it fathomable? I remember one time I was confessing to my father in confession, and I was pretty sad. I was getting choked up, and he said, look, Habibi, everything you're saying to me is like a match. Imagine a match. Match doesn't have a chance against an ocean. Right? And so sometimes we view our sins as these big things. And, we're going to tell Abuna's going to go, oh, never heard that one before. That's a new one. Wow. You're badder than the other kids. What are you, stupid? Of course not. So can you imagine God's pain when you say, I'm not good enough for you? You can see my slides. Forgiveness continues. He's happy to see the one who spit on his face. The acting, by the way, in this movie is fantastic. I want you to watch the movie like 5 times, especially Mendez. His acting is amazing. Right? After getting spit in his face, Mendez reacts with love. And this is the reaction that God has when we come back. Don't think it will be any different than that. And even if, the parent that repents. And so the limbless man can't really believe it. He looks at Mendez. He thinks Mendez is probably going to put him back into the side circus. And what does he do? Come eat. Come have breakfast. Come relax with us. This is the reaction. This is the reaction to our brokenness. And what I want to encourage you to think about is your brokenness not as a curse, but as a state of being. Brokenness as a state of being, with struggle being its natural counterpart. None of this would have happened. We'll talk about that later. There's one thing that hit me in the movie. When Mendez got close to him, he spit. It's an interesting reaction. Is it one we have? Every once in a while, I'll be talking to someone. Why? In the Gospel of John in chapter 3, it says, the light exposes the darkness, and so the people don't like the light. And so when Mendez got close, the truth was too close. Good. And it'll piss us off. Be like, you're so good. You make me feel bad about myself. And sometimes that's our reaction to God. Don't get too close. In fact, sometimes when you talk to an atheist, you find that that's actually the problem. Atheists usually don't not believe in God. Atheists usually believe in a God. They just don't want to they don't want to deal with him. They don't want to talk to him. They don't like his existence. His existence makes me feel bad. And so many atheists, that isn't actually the problem. Many atheists are hurt. Many atheists have been crushed by people, by religious people, by the church, by servants, by their parents. And they're crushed by the weight of their own sins. And so many atheists, that isn't the issue. The issue is, I don't want to look at God. Because when I see him, or when I see a clergy, or when I see someone in the church, it makes me feel bad about me. I was just talking to a girl yesterday. And she said she went out with her roommates. She's at college, and she went out to party. And the girls that she was with, she has 3 roommates, they're all just drunk, doing coke. She was shocked for the club. She said, okay. And then when she didn't want to do what they did, they hated her. She's like, they all turned on me, and they hate me. Why do they hate me? I said, because you make them feel bad about themselves. She's like, I didn't judge them. I didn't say a word. All I said is, I just don't want to go out. I don't want to do coke at the club. But her presence, her existence made them hate. Is that? Yeah. Christ's goodness made the Pharisees hate him. It's amazing. And so we see this in the movie, right? When God gets too close, we spit. We don't want him there. And so once we recognize that's what we're doing, it's helpful. Sometimes we actually sin and hurt ourselves and push because we don't want God in our lives on purpose. And sanctifies creation and shows the true potential. So even though I spit, there's something about it that intrigues. Do you guys want to know? So you go to church. I want to go to church with you. Why? What's she seeing? Something inspiring. Something beautiful. We all have the image of God in us. So we all see it. We all recognize it. We all know good when we see it. We feel it. And we feel it across religions, by the way. So why did the limbless man want to follow? Because it felt right. It felt like the right thing to do. And so he was inspired by the example of others. It's the master plan. The reason is our citizenship is in heaven. What did Christ say? My kingdom is what? Not of this earth. We're just not meant for this. How do you know? How do you know you're not meant for it? I'll ask you. How do you feel after you mess up? How do you feel after you mess up? There's your answer. It's not natural. It's not part of the plan. It's not us. It's not our citizenship. It's not our world. Oh yeah, we fall. There's temptation everywhere. We keep falling. We don't get up. But how do you feel? And the way Christ interacts is beautiful. What did Mendez do after he got spit in the face? Spit on him after he spit in his face? He turned around and he walked away. What did Christ say? Follow me. Does he force? Did he say, look, you're in a side circus. I'm in the butterfly circus. I'm famous. I could change your life. I could make you a hero. Do you have any idea what you did? Which is what the tattooed guy said to him. And yet he said nothing. He turned around and he walked away. Christ always says, follow me. And he doesn't force us to do anything. In fact, one of the things I want you to think about this weekend is the fact that your parents aren't here and the fact that your parents can't make you do anything. They really can't. You know it and I know it. And so at some point in time, all of you have to choose. You may not choose on the retreat. You may not choose in your 20s. You may not choose in your 30s. You may not choose in your 40s. But you'll choose. And you have to make the choice. And no one can make it for you. What did the father say to the prodigal son when he left? When he said, I want half the money. Here it is. Go. Look at the freedom. Go. So when you choose God, you have to choose like that. No force, no coercion, no guilt. You choose from a state of brokenness. Christ turns around and he walks away. And he says, follow me if you want. And it's your call. 1,000% your call. No one chooses for you. Can you guys see the parable of the 11th hour? That doesn't matter. So you guys know all right, I'm almost done. I know you guys want to sleep. No, you don't. You want to stay up all night. Does anyone remember the parable of the 11th hour? What happened? Right, so this guy hired some people for the first hour, and he said, I'm going to pay you some money, 1 denarii, right? And then he hired people in the 3rd hour, in the 6th hour, the 9th hour, and the 11th hour. And then when he went to go pay, he paid everyone the same amount. You remember this parable? Good. Is that fair? Is it fair? Is it fair that someone who worked from the first hour get paid the same amount, right? So the first hour is 6 a.m., and then it goes 3 hours, 9 a.m., noon, 3 p.m., 5 p.m., 6 p.m. So the Jewish day is 12 hours. It goes from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. That's not important. What is it important, is it fair that someone who worked 1 hour get paid the same as everyone else? Is it fair that someone like the right-hand thief can, as we say it during Holy Week, steal heaven, and someone like St. Anthony lived his whole life with God? Is it fair? What do you think? Let me ask it another way. Who gets the short end of the stick? The thief or St. Anthony? The thief. Who got the short end of the stick? The thief. Why? He didn't get to live with God. So if you asked the limbless man and said, hey, maybe you could join the circus a little bit later, the butterfly circus. Maybe, you could just stay in the side circus a little bit longer and then join the side circus right before you die. What do you think you would have said? What, are you crazy? Why would I want to do that? What do you think the limbless man is thinking? I wish I had joined the butterfly circus sooner, right? Have you ever seen anyone on their deathbed say, I wish I had waited a little bit longer before living for God? Have you ever seen anyone on their deathbed say, I think I served God too much. I loved my family too much. I love people too much. Do people say that on their deathbed? What does everyone say on their deathbed? I wish I had served more. I wish I had loved more. I wish I had gone to church more. I wish I had been there for my family more. And every servant says, I wish I could serve God more. So I can assure you, if you ask the limbless man, are you happy with your choice? He said, I wish I joined the circus sooner, the butterfly circus sooner. So finally, last thing I like from the movie, we see them taking the circus on the road. When did they go to the road? They went to that little shanty town, right, where that kid was sitting in diapers in the dirt, throwing rocks into a can. And so what I loved about that moment was they went to the poorest of the poor. They went to the most broken. They went to the people who had nothing. And they offered to them hope. Right? I love that part. So once we respond to this call, let's just kind of summarize. The struggle will absolutely come. Some of you have responded to the call, follow or not follow. And it's your choice, 1,000%. You don't make it out of guilt, you don't make it out of fear, you don't make it out of anything else, but out of love. And when you do, the struggle comes, which we'll talk about tomorrow. And then I love this line, the greater the struggle, the more glorious the triumph. The struggle perfects us. It makes us realize who we are and what we are. I'll talk about more about the struggle next time. No clapping. Anyone have anything to... No snapping. Yes? Sure. Oh, could someone give him a mic really quick? Does anyone have any mics? Thank you, Habib.
Thank you. I just wanted to know, like, what your thoughts are on, like you said, like someone like Gandhi, like people see him and are like, oh, he has something. What do we like? Why do you think that is? Like, if it's not God.
I'm sorry, I missed the first part. Somebody cons?
You said like someone like Gandhi.
Oh, someone like Gandhi. Okay.
Like you see someone like Gandhi and you say that he has something. It's like, what is it?
Everyone's created in the image of God. And inside all of us, every human, I think there is a inherent sense of what's good and what's not. So C.S. Lewis, in his book Mere Christianity, he talks about this. He says, if you cut across culture and you cut across time, you never find a civilization or a group that condoned murder or condoned, leaving the army and turning your back on your country or turning your back on your family. And what he's basically arguing is there's these inherent principles of truth in all of us, right? Because we're all created in the image of our Father, right? And everyone has that. And so what we sense in other people is that goodness, right? I mean, can there be in them, right? And I don't think you can avoid that. I mean, when a child is born, right, and he has his mom's, she has her mom's nose, okay? And her dad's eyes and her mom's hands, okay? The mom's and the dad is really excited, right? They're like, look, she has my nose. Not my nose, I have a bad nose, but, if you have a nice nose, right? And the other ones, look, she has my eyes, and she has my smile, and she has your dimples, right? And regardless of what that little girl does, she will always be in the image of her parents, no matter how she lives, right? And we'll talk a little bit about this tomorrow, but we're all created in this image, and then what we struggle for is likeness, right? Because no matter what, that little girl will look like her mom, but she may not turn out to be like her mom, right? And her mom will raise her to be like her, right? To talk like her, to act like her, to think like her, but that may or may not take. I don't know. Right? But everyone has that image, I guess is what I'm saying. Good. Any other questions? Yes. Oh, all right. Mics are, they're there. Here's Joe. Yes.
I guess, sorry, I'm like trying to formulate it into a sentence that makes sense. How do you stay like in the butterfly circus when sometimes like it can be like a lonely road? Like, yes, I know like God is always with us, but like you said in the story of the girl that you were talking to, like a lot of times, at least in college settings, like not everybody's in the butterfly circus, so it's hard to, I guess, like find fellowship or like not be sitting by yourself in your dorm unless you participate in the side circus, but then you come home feeling like crap because you were in the side circus. So I guess like, what are, I guess, points of advice to us in order to like be strong even when like the path that I know like we're supposed to be on can be like really lonely?
That's a tough one. I mean, my sense is you're actually on the path. Let's go get stupid drunk. All right? S-faced, okay? You tell a 50-year-old that, and they're like, no, I'm done with that. I've done enough of that. I don't want to do that again. I don't want to wake up in my own vomit. I don't want to have a headache the next morning. I don't need cirrhosis of the liver. There's a lot of things. I'm good. What happened? In fact, you don't need to go to 50. You can plastered, and they'll be like, I don't know, what do you guys say now? It's not plastered. Huh? Wasted? Wasted is our word. What's some plaqued? Is that what you said?
You wouldn't know.
Sorry. You're such a suck up. Anyway, he said we wouldn't know since we read Egbeya at night instead of. So anyway, so I think you're on the path, right? And the path is simple. So in the story of the prodigal son, I'll get to your story here in a second, into your question. It said he used to eat the pig's food, okay? And one of the fathers was telling me that the pig food that they had at the time was like this big thing that looked like a big food, like a fava bean, okay? It's a big, I've actually eaten them, they're terrible. But they're big like this, and they're just skin, okay? And when you pop it, it's air inside. There's nothing inside, right? So I remember going to my friend's house, and he had these, and he gave me a plate like this big, and I'm like, I can't eat all this. He's like, oh, no. Once you pop them in, they're just air inside. There's nothing, right? So I ate like 30, right? And they're just skin and it gets in your teeth. It's not important. What is the key to the pig's food is it looks satisfying, but it's not. And really, the only time you're going to figure this out, unfortunately, is you're going to just do it, right? You said it. I sit at home and I'm alone, but then I go to the side circus and I'm not happy, right? So what we do is we mess up, okay? And that's a part of life, right? In the litany of the departed, what we say in Vespers, right, is no one would be pure even if his life were a single day on earth, right? So we mess up, okay? Satan says to us, you've messed up. Just lay down and die, right? And you say, no, I've messed up, and I don't like how I feel, and I don't like how this makes me feel, and I don't like how I talk, and I don't like how I act, and I don't like what this does to me. I'm going to try to stop doing this. And then I'm going to fight back. And then in 2 days, I'm going to fall again. And that's okay, right? That's part of the process, right? So the falling isn't the issue, right? It's just the not getting up is the issue, right? But eventually you realize this isn't satisfying, right? I mean, now, when I go to the club, which I do, music's loud, people are obnoxious, it's just like everyone's yelling. I'm like, how is this even enjoyable? I mean, you just start to get over it. You're just like, this isn't that great, right? People are throwing up on the sidewalk outside, whatever, right? It's like, this is stupid, let's leave, right? The first 5 times, you're like, hey, I'm at the club, my parents don't know, this is great, right? And then after a while, you're like, okay, this is just dumb, right? Takes a while. You just got to go to the club more often. That's the solution there, obviously. The Buddhists are like, what have we done? Who did we invite? Mushkila. Any other questions? Yes. There's a microphone.
I have the mic right
There, you got it. Okay.
here. So you mentioned earlier that we don't have to be good enough to serve,
Mm.
but isn't that hypocritical? And also,
Isn't that hypocritical?
yeah, if we're serving and we're not,
Oh,
we're living,
okay.
or we're doing something that's wrong.
Mm.
And then there's the whole going to your father of confession to get permission to serve. So doesn't that kind of go against what you said?
So let me answer the first question first. You said, sometimes we think we're not good enough to serve, and then isn't that hypocritical that we're... let me tell you to a different way. If anyone, and I mean anyone, says, I deserve to serve, I'd say, you really don't. You got a problem. In fact, Christ, St. Paul beautifully says, right, my strength is perfected in weakness. Anyone who is called to any service, the only verse that keeps us going is that one. That's all I have to offer. And if I don't see that, then I'm delusional. And anyone who isn't offering weakness, we offer dangerous side isn't, Abuna, I have nothing to offer. You're perfect. Right? Because what do I offer? I offer God. I offer Christ. I offer Christ who's in me, and he is in you. Right? And the only thing I have to do as a servant is get out of the way. I said this last night, Justin's laughing. Right? The only thing I have to do as a servant is to get out of the way and let Christ come through. Right? So the more of me there is, the worse it is. The more of my ego, the more of my pride, the more of my will, the more I think I know what I'm doing as a servant. Big problem. Just get out of the way. And if you're already out of the way, you're like, I have nothing to give, perfect. You're perfect. The one I'm really worried about is the one who says, I have a lot to give. It's like, why don't you take a seat? Mr. I have a lot to give. And I know it's a mister because they're usually guys. So that's not hypocritical at all. Yeah, I'll stop there. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Marshy, for that beautiful talk. I think it gives us all a lot to reflect on before his talk tomorrow on transformation. So one more round of applause for Archdeacon Mark.
All right, so I'm sure you're all wondering what's going to happen next. So in the interests, they're all going to come up. So you're all going to see who your group leaders are and know where they are and who they are. And then what is going to happen, we're going to do some icebreakers. So everyone's going to get comfortable with each other to obviously break the ice. And then I believe, we're going to...
Hey, how much does a polar bear weigh?
There we go.
Sorry, keep going.
And then instead of actually having our group discussions, we're just going to go to the area in which we will be having the group discussion, just so everybody's familiar, so that tomorrow, when we have our real group discussion, you guys know where to go and you guys know who your group leaders are. So all the group leaders, please bring your sticks and come up here, please.
This
Signs.
is a stick.
Signs.
if you're curious. So I'll go ahead and start.
Identification stick.